It is. Yesterday, obviously, I was a little bit miserable. I've had a bad day.
Yeah.
Today, slightly better day. Should we just go straight into
Yeah, we'll go straight in. You talk about your day first.
Right. So, my day, I went in the bag again, hoping to draw a flyer, because obviously I was out of it after yesterday. Not, winning my section is okay, but you're trying to get the overall money in the match time,
Yeah.
I think. So you're trying to, or to sort of win your lake and stuff.
Yeah.
Try and, win a bit of money back. So anyway, I went in the bag and I drew 45 on high pool, about, 5 pegs away from where I was yesterday.
Up the sort of roadside.
Yeah. And I had a look at what the peg had the day before. Probably shouldn't have looked, but I had a look and it's £9.
Oh.
And it had £8 to the left, so I thought, oh no. But you just never know, you know what I mean? You've got to go and try and set your gear up and be optimistic. So I got to my peg, looked at it really wide there, like probably the widest peg on the fishery, I'd say, in terms of pegs where you can fish to an island. Really wide, so probably like, it probably
17?
is just 16 and a half metres. I fished like that F1 extension in, plus my Browning dolly butt, which is a bit longer than a Daiwa, so I think it's just over 16, but I'm probably not even touching the bank with that. You're just getting to the edge of the reed, so really wide peg. That was going to be the main plan. I plumbed up in the morning. I thought, with it being difficult yesterday, I might just want to go and tap pellets across or something. Plumbing it up, you just haven't got any depth to fish on the bottom.
It's deep in it, like 5 foot.
Deep, plums up all over the place, full of brambles. Your only real option, if the fish want to be across, is to fish shallow.
Yeah.
So that was the plan, shallow across. I've loose fed some casters down the middle today as well, because yesterday I threw some maggots short and that was rubbish, so I thought, I'm not going to fish that close to myself. It's not fishing well enough to get a load of bites close, so I thought I'll fish in the middle. So I fed casters there, and then also my edge, because I'd caught in the edge well yesterday, to be fair, so I sort of pinned a bit of hopes. That plumbed up well again. It was like 20 inch.
Against the
nice
bank?
And flat
Quite
bank.
close to you?
I fished it short 4 and a 5. And
nice.
It just felt nice. I felt like I was going to catch there today in that edge, to be honest. As it turned out, I didn't catch a lot there, but yeah, basically my match, I've started on pellets again in the edge, same as yesterday. I caught sort of £15 on that yesterday, which was brilliant start, really, looking back. But I only caught like 2 or 3 F1s. Wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Tell there weren't anything coming in. I thought, could be in for a tough day. Went in shallow across, about half an hour in, little overshotted rig. That shallowest one, what Rob talked about, sort of 6 inch below, 4 inch above. When you float it's just under 12 inch, like 11 point some inches, if you're being very specific. But anyway, whizzed that out, went in, got one first chuck. I thought, well, that happened yesterday, I bet it won't last very long. And then like 2 hours later, still shipped the fish back every put in. I'd had a bite every put in. Not always quick, but I was coming back with sort of these little Carasio, little blonde F1s, stocky F1s, a very odd better F1. Did have a carp across there, shallow as well, about £6 when Tom was filming me. So it was going well, and I'd probably got £60 in the net 2 hours in. So I'm like, that's a lot more than I've had more than I've had yesterday already, and we've got 3 hours to go. So I knew I was doing well. I could see that the anglers around weren't bagging, so I thought I was leading the section. And then it sort of petered off a little bit, and it wasn't as good, and it was just a case of nicking an odd fish around your peg.
Nip and tuck.
Couple of fish. I've not had any more bites in the edge today, which is really strange. Nothing come back in there, but I've had a couple of fish in the deep water, a couple more fish going back in across. You get a couple shallow, and then I've had a few on the bottom on that line with a worm on the up as well. That wasn't great, but again, just caught you an odd fish. Finished up with £104 and won my section. So
very nice.
After
well
yesterday, glad to have caught a few and win the section. So
good result.
Just shows like same lake as yesterday, very similar approach. Just need to be on a few more fish.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's clearly been an odd more fish where I've been there today. For whatever reason, I don't even know why.
It just seems, I think it's probably just because there's a little bit more of a bank in there, just to hold a few more fish against that bank, and it's...
So like I say, kit-wise, little sort of 12-inch overshotted rig. One of the new prototype dibbers what we've been using that are really, really good, to be fair. It's like an inline dibber, nice and light. And I think today, where I've been fishing so long, if you use like a normal float with a side eye, you're just tangling your rig all day, whereas using that little like inline dibber, hardly had a tangle. If you do get a bit of a wrapper, you sort of shake your pole and it's out, and I think they're going to be really good.
From RW, some new ones coming.
Yeah, some new ones. So
Cool.
I don't know how soon. I've mentioned these floats before on the thing, and I thought Richie won't be happy. But if anyone's interested, have a look out. They might end up coming out quite soon, depending on what Richie decides to do with them. But
Nice.
They were really good, and yeah, and that was it really. White Hydra in a short kit. That was just typical shallow rigs. But then, what about your day, Rob?
My day. Well, I went into the bag and I drew peg 7 on canal, which is in the same section as I was in yesterday. And I was quite disappointed, to be honest, because I felt like it didn't give me a very good chance of winning the section. I was definitely up against it. It's probably one of the worst pegs in that section. The winds blew down to where I was yesterday on 13 again. You're like the end of the section up towards the other end of the lake, so didn't really fancy it, but obviously I knew anything could happen in fishing, so I tried to give it my best. I had Ian Welsh on peg 13, where I won the match yesterday, and Al Fowlson on 11. And 2 brilliant anglers, they know exactly how to catch these F1s here, so I knew I was definitely up against it with them lads up there. I had Wayne Kearney to my right as well, brilliant angler, so up against it. But the plan of attack was, because I had no cover across, but to be fair, the fact that the sun's not been out too much, I feel like that's helped a little bit, because they've not wanted to be in the cover as much. The lads haven't emptied it. They've caught, but they've not emptied it in the cover. So I basically caught a maggot shallow down the middle. I set up a mud line across. You could get against the bank in about 16 inch in the corner of the mud line across. So I just thought maybe that might give me a chance of catching a few carp.
Yeah.
I've potted ground bait there.
Have you had any carp there?
No, 2, a few F1s. Yeah. And then the other line I set up was casters to my right. There's loads of reeds to your right, so I felt like I'd throw some casters there, see if I could catch shallow. If it was bright, then that might have been a better line. And then in my left edge, it's really nice. I've just fished pellets there. So my match basically was I started on pellets in my left edge, just Mokes and expanders. Yeah. It's like 20 inch against the bank, plums up lovely. And to be fair, I've had a much better start than I expected. It was nice. I had like 20 pound after probably 40 minutes.
Did you catch like them little stockies?
Yeah, little pound and a quarter stockies. I had a carp 4 pound as well. Yeah. And I thought that was a really nice start, and I was proud of my shallow line. And the lads weren't emptying it, they were catching a few, but I was neck and neck for that part of the day. Then I went in shallow and I started catching a few. I caught a couple on an overshotted rig and a few on a winter maggie. The overshotted rig was better, to be honest, because it felt like it makes you a bit more patient. Sometimes when you're flicking that winter maggie in all the time, you don't get bites and you just feel like nothing's in your peg. But if you sit on the overshotted rig, sit in it for a little bit longer and you do get one.
I think what happens with that rig as well is obviously when you're fishing with your fixed rig and you're waiting for a bite, when you get your bite, sometimes you might miss it and then it's like you've missed your chance. Yeah. Whereas with that overshotted rig, especially, it's difficult. You're sitting on it, yeah, and then when one takes it, you catch it, yeah, and you're getting the most out of your peg rather than missing out on chances. That's
basically what's happened. And so most of the day, to be fair, well, the first 2 hours I could get a bite shallow, like most trucks. I had to wait a while for bites, get little spells, and I think I was keeping up with them, to be fair, on the ends. But as we moved into the middle of the match, so I was on the Ian Welsh and Al Fowlson just snuck ahead of me. They were getting more bites across shallow, some bigger F1s, and more stockies in between. Like the day I had yesterday, it was like you ship across to catch a 4 ounce, ship back across 2 pound. It's like I was waiting long for bites from them, and they've just sort of nipped ahead of me. And then the shallow line sort of petered off, so I shipped across to the mud, caught a few F1s, but you have to sit and wait for ages. It wasn't like put your bait in, clunk, get one. It was like sit your bait, get some liners. Yeah. It wasn't brilliant, but no one was really catching. Once it sort of slowed down the second sort of half of the match, I felt like I was fish for the lads on the end, but as it happened, I've been a little bit further behind. I've kept potting ground bait in my edges, hoping for an arrival of carp.
Did they not come in?
They didn't come in. I caught F1s. Every time I dropped in towards the end, I'd wait a while and get an F1, but a lot of stockies, like a pound. And I was looking down the lake, and Al and Ian seemed pretty still, but Ian Welsh was quite far into the corner, so I couldn't really see what he was catching. Yeah, the end of my match, shallow line never came good again. I just basically concentrated from the mud and edge. I kept potting it, I kept shipping across, putting 200 mil on the mud, trying to bring some carp into the peg. I didn't want to sit on my hands and hope for the best. I thought I'm going to try and force it a little bit, so I kept potting some ground bait because I know if you put a volume of bait in.
Yeah, sometimes you get that little arrival late on and it could have pushed you up to winning the section, but
yeah, so
what did you end up with?
Ended up with £96. which was agonisingly third. A little bit disappointed, but to be honest, at the start of the match, I said third was probably a good result. I feel like I've had a nice day off that peg. £96, decent result. Ian Welsh had 109. He's won the section, and Al Fowles had 105. So I'm £10–15 off winning the section, which is it's frustrating, but I feel like off that peg, it's
it's
a decent result.
Really hope for. I thought that when you said this morning, I thought you're always going to struggle to beat 11 and 13 straight away, and especially when Al and Ian are on them pegs, you know they're not going to
make a mistake. Really,
they're going to catch the fish and they're going to be fishing up to cover shallow and stuff like that. So it is what it is.
So third. Looking back, I'm not sure what I would do differently. Really, like that shallow line never really came good. I feel like it was the right decision to put it down the middle. I had no cover across. The mud was just a ticky over. I feel like maybe you could squeeze a few more pound out of it, but to be honest, I don't think anything drastically changed. Any drastic changes wouldn't have made much of a difference, I don't think.
No, the main change is just don't draw there, draw on a better peg, I think.
I feel like, damage limitations today, a third. Last year on this festival, the same thing happened. I drew peg 5 on the first day and I ended up third in that section, got beat by the ends and ended up with 2 wins other than that. So hopefully if I can get a win tomorrow, might sneak in with 5 points, you never know.
Yeah, I think you would do, mate. I think because you've got a good weight as well, haven't you? So on the overalls, I think has Matty Hamilton won the match today?
Matty Hamilton's won the match off peg 6 on a house.
Yeah, £160.
Yeah.
There's been a few other good weights. I know Kath's she had about £150.
£145 Cap. Yeah.
So there's
shallow.
Been some decent weights again.
It's been good.
It's a little bit patchy like we expected. With so many angles on the fishery and the weather being a bit funny, but still some good fishing. I've enjoyed my days fishing today. I bet you have.
I've enjoyed it. Yeah. I always enjoy the days when you feel like you're in the race. I genuinely thought that I'd just edged them, to be honest with you, because I felt like I was putting fish in the net when they weren't catching. But I think because I've been sat down the edge to my left, not really looking, it's deceiving. And they've obviously caught some better F1s. I've had some stockies.
Shallow,
just not right gone my way, but I've had a nice day. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. So
the pole's safe for one more day.
Yeah.
So
that'll be interesting tomorrow. I think that's what everyone's going for tomorrow.
I know,
not in the race in the.
Everyone's going to be gunning for it though. That's the thing on the last day. Everyone's going to be rafting it with casters. Come on.
I think you've got to now, haven't you? If you're not in the race, you've got to go for it because there's so much to be won on the day. You could potentially win. I don't know how much it is for winning the match.
£600.
£600 plus a
pole.
So. Yeah, fingers crossed. I'll get off high pull tomorrow to change the scenery, get on a nice peg somewhere.
And house
like
maybe.
6 on house where, and have a great day.
That would be the pole gone if you do that, I reckon.
Hopefully.
Right, hope you enjoyed it, lads and lasses, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.